All right, let's talk about Pinocchio, but probably not the one you're thinking of. We're going to peel back all those layers of happy, whimsical animation and get right to the original story by Carlo Collodi. And trust me, it is deeply unsettling. We're going to dive into the really disturbing origins of the world's most famous puppet. Yeah, so forget everything you think you know. Forget the charming wooden boy, the singing, the wishing on a star. That is not this story. The original is, well, it's a chilling, kind of brutal exploration of what it even means to be human. And it all hinges on this one really powerful psychological concept. And that concept is the uncanny. That's the lens we're going to be looking through today. You know that feeling, right? That little shiver you get when a mannequin in a store window looks just a little too real, or you hear a song you love but it's played just slightly wrong and it makes your skin crawl. That's it. That's the uncanny. It's the horror of something familiar being twisted into something strange. And Collodi's Pinocchio, oh, it is an absolute masterclass in this. He takes this comforting idea of a child's toy and just twists it into something truly monstrous. And that monstrosity, it starts right from the very beginning, from the moment of his creation. This is not some heartwarming story about a lonely old woodcarver's wish coming true. No, this is something way more unnatural, born into a world of illusion and deprivation right from the jump. I mean, just think about this for a second. Before he is even carved, before he even has a shape, the wood is screaming. Pinocchio already has a voice. He exists as this suffering, conscious thing trapped inside a block of raw material. So his birth isn't really an act of creation, is it? It's more like an escape, a release. And that immediately puts him way outside the normal, natural order of things. And this just completely shatters any idea that Pinocchio is some kind of innocent little boy. The instant he has arms and legs, what does he do? He uses them for pure malice. He snatches his creator's wig. He kicks him. And then, in this fit of rage, he just straight up murders the talking cricket, the voice of conscience in the story. This isn't some naive kid learning lessons through mistakes. This is something else. It's an inhuman will that's violent from the second it comes into being. And this inherent darkness inside him, it doesn't just show up in what he does. It literally starts to manifest on his body. He becomes this living canvas for uncanny horror, where the line between what's going on in his head and what's happening to his physical form just gets completely grotesquely blurred. Okay, so the nose. We all know the nose, right? But in the original book, it is not some cute, charming little quirk. It's this grotesque, totally incapacitating growth. It gets so long, he literally can't move through a room. It's like his lies, his moral failings are turning his own body into a physical prison. It's a really unsettling, visceral distortion of the human form. Oh, and trust me, it gets so much worse. The whole turning into a donkey thing, it's not just a punishment, it's a complete erasure of his identity. And it kind of calls back to him being made of wood, another non-human thing. It taps into that deep primal fear we all have of being trapped, a human mind stuck in an animal body, forced into backbreaking work. And then, in this totally bizarre scene, he gets thrown in the ocean and fish eat away his donkey skin, revealing the puppet underneath. So he's not becoming more human, he's just shedding one prison for another. It really drives home just how unstable his whole existence is. And the place where this truly horrifying transformation happens? It might just be the story's most perfect and most uncanny trap of all, Toyland. Now, on the surface, Toyland sounds amazing. It's basically every kid's dream, right? A world with zero rules, no school, just nonstop 24/7 fun. It's this perfect little utopia, and it's built from the ground up to lure in kids who don't want to follow the rules, promising them total freedom. But, as you probably guessed by now, with everything in this story, that comforting, familiar surface is hiding a really disturbing truth. And that promise of absolute freedom, yeah, that's actually the bait in the trap. It's the very thing that's going to enslave them. Because Toyland isn't a playground, it's a factory. It's a horrifying industrial machine designed for one thing, to turn happy, carefree boys into donkeys so they can be sold into a life of hard labor. This is probably the biggest uncanny reveal in the whole book. This place of pure joy is actually a horrifying exploitative system. All that happy laughter you hear, that's just the sound of the trap snapping shut. So this whole brutal system of traps and punishments, it's not just random chaos. It's actually a very calculated, almost clinical process. It's education through absolute, profound suffering. Look, Pinocchio isn't just getting a slap on the wrist. He is being systematically broken. He's nearly fried in a pan like a fish. He's chased by a sea monster. He's publicly humiliated over and over again. And get this, in the original version that Collodi wrote for a magazine, the story ended with Pinocchio being lynched by his enemies. They hang him from a tree and leave him to die. Can you imagine a children's story that ends with the main character being brutally executed, just forced back into being a lifeless object? And who's overseeing all of this brutal education? The blue-haired fairy. She is not the benevolent, sparkly guide you might be thinking of. In the book, she's this cold, dispassionate orchestrator of his torment. She tests him. She stands by and allows him to be punished. She literally watches him suffer, all with this chilling detachment. It completely flips our expectations of what a fairy godmother should be. And this really shows you the cruel core logic of Pinocchio's world. The idea here is that to become good, your own will has to be completely and utterly destroyed first. Forgiveness isn't some act of grace or kindness. It's just the final step in a business transaction, a process of psychological demolition and then, maybe, reconstruction. All of which brings us to the end, the famous conclusion. After all this horror, after all this suffering, Pinocchio finally becomes a real boy. But this transformation, honestly, it might be the most uncanny and the most disturbing moment in the entire story. This is not the happy, magical, and they all lived happily ever after ending we know. In the book, it's described with this one deeply unsettling detail that just changes everything about what it means to become real. So when Pinocchio wakes up as a human boy, he looks over and in the corner of the room, he sees his old puppet body, just slumped there, lifeless, like a discarded corpse. A silent, staring effigy of his past. It's this permanent, haunting reminder of what he used to be and all the horror he had to go through. And that image, right there, illustrates the story's final chilling point perfectly. To become real, the puppet Pinocchio had to die. His transformation wasn't this gentle, magical evolution. It was a violent break, a complete and total rejection of his past. He had to shed his old self, literally leaving its husk behind in order to be reborn. So in the end, Collodi's original story leaves us with this really unsettling question. It suggests that becoming human has nothing to do with wishing on a star. It's a brutal, painful process. It's about breaking, about dying, and about leaving a piece of yourself behind forever. And it kind of forces us to ask ourselves, what's the uncanny horror that lies beneath our own transformations? What parts of ourselves do we have to kill to become the people we are today?